All right, guys, what is going on? So, I just want to give another update on my naked body scanner results. So, this is after 2 weeks, and so what I noticed with my previous scans was that I would weigh around 225, 226 in that range when I would get on the scanner, and when I would get on a different scale, I'd weigh a little bit more. Now, I stopped using my regular scale, at least stop using it regularly, because I figured this was going to be the way that I was going to track any type of changes, so I just kind of stopped using it. And so I figured, I just lost weight during that time. But if I ever got back on the scale, and again, I wasn't doing it like every day like I used to, it would read around 230, which is what I was going into it, give or take, depending on the day, depending on the time, what I was wearing, whatever. So I figured, I don't know why I would be losing 5 pounds when I went on the scale. And so um, I've actually been weighing myself or using the scale on just this very, very thin, dense rug. And I didn't think that'd have much of an effect, but I guess, it kind of did. And so the scale comes with carpet feet, which just kind of, like if you use it on a carpet, it has these little kind of things that stick into the ground that are supposed to, make the scale more even. So I tried those. And then on this reading, I got 230.6 pounds, I believe. So that is probably the accurate one, is my guess. I don't actually know if the scale that I have, like in my bathroom, is super accurate. But almost all the scales that I've used, had me trending in that 230 area, give or take. So 230.6 sounds about right. And with that, obviously, there had to be some type of fat or muscle gain to compensate for that. So basically, it showed that I had gained from last week 1.4 pounds of lean mass, which could be a little bit of muscle, water weight, whatever, and 2.7 pounds of fat. Now, those are both probably a little bit high, but I think both, I do think I've added muscle. I've been hitting my workouts pretty hard. I've been feeling, some soreness in my triceps and stuff like that. I've been taking, doses of amino acids that should, and been eating pretty well for the most part. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So that muscle gain, or at least lean mass gain, if you include water weight and whatever else, and especially if you compensate for that, lack of 4 pounds or whatever that the scale was off by because of that unevenness of the rug, then I feel like I did gain a little bit of muscle. Maybe not like 1.4 pounds, or at least lean body mass, but maybe not 1.4 pounds. The fat mass that it gained, 2.7, I think is much higher than what it was, but I do think it is possible that I gained some fat. But based on what I've been noticing about myself, oftentimes, and I've mentioned this in the past, I gain fat in my lower body. I don't store a lot in my upper body at all, which is a good thing. So I look leaner than I am. I gain, some in my low back. So there's that. And then after, that, then I start gaining fat in my stomach area. So a lot of the times I can just kind of monitor if I am losing fat just by feeling around this area, this lower stomach area, and seeing, am I losing fat here? And from what I've been able to tell, I have been losing fat there. And I have been pretty consistent with my intermittent fasting, and my diet. The amount of calories that I'm consuming has been lower consistently. And so I actually think that the scale is just kind of compensating for saying, hey, you gained 4 pounds, and if only one of them was lean mass, then about 3 of them have to be fat. So I don't actually think that I gained fat, but I do think it is possible, and here's why. I did have 2 days where I didn't really have the ideal diet. So the Final Four came to my city. I actually had the chance. I bought the tickets beforehand, and I was thinking I was going to see some of my former teammates play in the tournament. They didn't actually end up making the tournament. They ended up losing the round prior, so I didn't get to see them. But it kind of is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get something like that. So I was able to go to those games. Now the first day there was 2 games. I was with a friend all day. We ate terribly. We went to bars. We had bar food. We had Taco Bell. I consider that my cheat day, right? Like, I was just like, there's no way I can avoid this. I drank, a lot of beer and stuff like that, and it was just a bad day. And I also started earlier than I normally start my fast. So just all of it, was a really bad day. And I consider that kind of a loss. Now, the day of the championship, I was a lot more aligned with what I, would normally eat in a day, but it still wasn't consistent because I couldn't, I like to eat, obviously around nighttime, but not like super late into the night. And so more of like, in the evening, in the early, or I guess later afternoon. So that's normally when I like to eat. So that day kind of messed that up. So I did have to come back and, eat a little bit in a much later window than I was used to. So both of those kind of messed up my fasting. So, it is possible that I did gain some fat, but honestly, I think those 2 days combined, especially if one of those was kind of my cheat day, I don't really think that was enough to kind of give me fat gain, especially, like I said, just based on feeling, and this is not a scientific way at all, no type of measurement, but just feeling here, I can tell, or at least I feel like I've lost weight there. So, but I'm glad I got that scale inaccuracy out of the way. And of course there are fluctuations, but it seems like 2.7 pounds seems to be a little bit extreme. So I honestly, in my opinion, I think I might have gained, maybe a pound or something of lean body mass, and maybe lost like a pound of fat. That is my guess. And going forward, the measurement should be more accurate considering I'm using the carpet feet. So that's where I'm at now, 230.6 pounds. 17.3% body fat, and my lean mass, I believe, is like 190.6 pounds. So that is good. And basically, my goal in this period is, yes, I do want to lose fat. With the intermittent fasting, I am trying to do kind of a body recomp, but I also think intermittent fasting is just a good way for me to control my diet and not kind of eat excessively while I'm expending all this energy in the gym. I tend to want to eat a lot. So this is a way for me to kind of limit my calorie intake where I could be in a surplus, but maybe not a huge surplus where you might consider it like a dirty bulk or something like that. So intermittent fasting works for me for that reason, as well as, I think it has been burning fat recently. It's hard to know for sure. I do want to, have those scans for weeks and months to really see. But basically, as long as I'm gaining muscle during this time period, which I've been pretty consistent with my amino acid intake, then that is something that I'm okay with. I'm okay with gaining some fat if I'm gaining muscle as well, especially at the rate that it says that I have been. My lifts seem to have gotten a lot stronger, so the muscle increase does seem to be likely, and I just feel, just by looking, I feel like that is true. So I will ride this train of muscle gain until it starts to diminish significantly, and then after that I would start a serious cut. Nothing super crazy, but just more limits on my calorie intake. So that is where I'm at, and I will keep you updated.